We're going to explore language devices with a focus on figurative language, and we're going to do that in as thorough a way as possible, but on just one page. So let's start. We're going to start with simile. So we're going to start at the top with simile. And what is a simile? Well, simile sounds a bit like similar. You're saying that something is similar to something else. You're not saying it is something else. And the idea is that you're giving someone or something the qualities of something that it isn't. So, for example, somebody who is on YouTube all the time or making YouTube videos all the time, you could say, she is like the queen of YouTube. Like, she is like, and like or as is showing that this is a comparison. Now, metaphor is different to simile because with a metaphor, something is said to be something it isn't, or a person is said to be something or someone they are not. So I could do the same as the simile where I said she is like the queen of YouTube, but now I'm going to say she is the queen of YouTube. And so is she the queen? Like the Queen of England? No. But I'm investing the qualities to say that that is how often she's on YouTube or how important she seems to be on YouTube, or certainly how she sees herself. So I'm making a deeper point by doing a comparison. But with the simile, using like or as, whereas with the metaphor, I'm saying somebody is something they're not, or something is something they're not, saying one thing is something they couldn't possibly be. Now, personification is metaphorical because, again, all of these are beyond the literal. I can say a pen is something you write with, that is very literal. But if I say the pen is mightier than the sword, now this is metaphorical. You have to read between the lines to work out what I'm trying to say. Personification. Now, if we take personification, it's got the word if and person inside of it. So, personification, I say if it was a person, this is what it would do. So, in personification, human characteristics are given to inhuman objects. For example, instead of I forgot to set my alarm, I could say the alarm clock forgot to ring. Now that is making the alarm clock have the human qualities of forgetfulness. Hyperbole is a tricky one. People confuse hyperbole with exaggeration, so that's something to avoid. Hyperbole, for example, I could sleep for a week. Now, the person is emphasizing how tired they are, saying they could sleep for a week. But as it's physically impossible to go to sleep for a week, then we can see that it's hyperbole because it's beyond the literal. We're going to do semantic field very quickly. Semantic field is kind of sophisticated language. Lexical choice. So lexical choice is to do with words. It's to do with the words that you're choosing. And semantics is to do with word meaning. And so if we look at semantic field, then we can simplify it by saying, well, they are words taken from the same group. We can group those words together. To make it really simple, if I say blue, pink, and yellow are from the semantic field of colours, I could say bus, train, and taxi are from the semantic field of transport. Sometimes writers choose a semantic field and use words from a particular semantic field deliberately to have an effect. But as I say, this tends to be quite sophisticated in order to be able to make a valid point about it. Oxymoron is a language device where words that we would consider opposites, they make sense as opposites, are put together for emphasis. And these come together in terms such as organised chaos, awfully good, open secret, clearly confused, happy tears. We would think that chaos is the opposite of organised. We think that awful is the opposite of good. A secret nobody should know about, but an open secret everyone knows about. Clearly, you think, well, that's clear. And confused means that you don't understand something. But clearly confused means the person is obviously confused. What we're doing here is emphasising the point we want to make, using the opposites to make people think, and it actually creates emphasis. Now, what about imagery? Well, imagery, and please don't say image or imaginary, imagery is sensory language. Sensory language, remember, is anything from the five senses of touch, taste, sight, smell. And so when you think about touch, taste, sight, smell, I've forgotten one, sound, there you go. So anything from the five senses would be sensory language or imagery. Here is an example. Steam came from the mug of milky coffee, and the warm oven-baked croissant was sweet and buttery. Now, the thing is, when you're writing with sensory language, it's really important you don't say, in my nostrils, I could smell the coffee, because that kind of isn't how we use imagery. And it's important you don't say, in my mouth, on my tongue, I could taste it was sweet. We know it was in your mouth and on your tongue. So this one is quite good because it's just giving the imagery without saying anything to do with the senses itself. Steam came from the mug of milky coffee. We can imagine how that would be in your mouth. And the warm oven-baked croissant was sweet and buttery. We can imagine the sweet and buttery flavour as it's being eaten. It tells us everything we need to know. Imagery is really good for pulling the reader into the feelings of a character or a particular setting. Onomatopoeia is fun, okay? Onomatopoeia, when you come to spell it, onomatopoeia. And onomatopoeia is when the word sounds like the very thing it represents. For example, splash, tick, droplet, bang, woof. Any animal sounds that the animals make would be words would resemble those, like woof, onomatopoeia. And other words that are slightly more complicated, like rattle and rattle and splash and rustle, these would all also be onomatopoeia. Now, a lot of people get confused with metaphor, simile, and personification, and I don't really want to add too much, but the thing with personification is it's a human characteristic given to an inhuman object. But we also have anthropomorphism and zoomorphism. Anthropomorphism is when animals are actually given human characteristics and behaviour. So, for example, the dog examined me curiously and expressed his disapproval. No, he said. So I'm making that dog have the characteristics and the abilities of a human, then that is anthropomorphism. I can also anthropomorphize cups and plates and bowls and so on, but there is a crossover then with personification. So there's a difference as to how human something becomes. So remember the alarm clock forgot to ring, that is a good example of personification. Now, zoomorphism, again, morph, things changing. Zoomorphism is when humans are given animal characteristics or behaviour. So it's definitely not personification if Mike roared with anger, because Mike is a man. He's been given the qualities of the lion roaring with his anger. And so that is zoomorphism because he has been given animal qualities. Oof. Okay, I hope that wasn't too much. Now, the thing that will make this simple is to do one at a time and regularly come back and have a look, because the more you do this, the more you look, the more these go into your toolbox of skills, so that when you're looking at a text, you're not struggling, you find the quotes that you really like, that really answer the question, and then you can go, oh yes, I think that is an example of onomatopoeia there as well, or oh, I think that one is personification. It's not about hunting for these devices, it's about knowing them, and when you find the quotes you really want to use in the exam, being able to draw on the appropriate terms from your quote. So do try and learn these as we go along. Well done.